Well, CrossOver's now been installed, so we want to install gCADPlus. We can either go to the top of the screen and pick Install Software, or Install, and this particular box pops up. So we type gCADPlus and we select it and select Continue. You can see what's happened. A script is run and an installer has been selected, and a so-called bottle or a container. We can say Continue and Install. So a script is running now, and a whole series of Windows fonts are going to be installed prior to running the gCADPlus setup program. And we'll say yes to that. Quite a few fonts being installed. This is all CrossOver doing its thing before we can install gCADPlus. So now we can run the gCADPlus setup file, and we go Next, Next, and Install. So all of the files that you need to run gCADPlus are being installed into your Mac in a particular folder, in a Documents folder. I'm not going to run the Launch gCADPlus. The reason being, it gives CrossOver a time to tidy up. And when that's done, we now have a bottle or a so-called container. In there is the little icon to run gCADPlus and the uninstall icon. So to run gCADPlus, double click it, and we're asked for a license key. So I'm going to say Demo. We don't need a license key at this stage, and I'll close the tips. I'll stretch down, and to test it, let's run one of the templates that are in the drawing. Full site bungalow would be a good one. Let's take that. So there's a full-size view of a garden area, and we can use the measure tool to measure from, say, one side of the side alongside the back boundary, 124 feet across. So it's full size. I'd suggest you do try Plants, Library, and then Plants and Standard. Scroll down a little bit. Just pick one of the symbols that's here, and we'll bring this one in and insert it into the drawing, and OK that. And it comes in at a particular size. It's sitting on top of some lawn at the moment. We could right click and scale it by clicking in the middle and stretch it. So you can stretch any symbol and change its size. We measure from one side. This could be a tall tree in the lawn. It's 11.5 feet in canopy diameter. So experiment by zooming in, by rolling the wheel away from you, zooming out, by pulling out in that way. Note, here's a piece of furniture, outdoor seating, here's a longer lounge, and so on. So experiment even with perhaps some rocks and moving things around, just to get a feel for gCADPlus. Well, there are some small differences if you want a copy of gCADPlus metric to work in the CrossOver environment. We need to go to the gCADPlus website, to the downloads page, and click and download a copy of the metric setup file. It's being downloaded now. It's about 40 megabytes in size, and it will appear in Finder in a moment. So the zip file is being downloaded. We're about 70% through, and what we can now do while that's happening, we'll go back to CrossOver. So we're now ready, because we've got the file we want, to install a Windows application. So what we're going to do now is say we're going to select an installer. We'll choose the installer file, and there we are in our Finder, and we're going to use that installer. Having chosen the installer, we select a bottle. I'm going to choose a new Windows 10 bottle, and I'm going to give it the name gCADPlus metric, and I'll continue. So we've selected the installer, selected the bottom. It's an unlisted application, so we'll just say continue and carry on installing. So it's not very different to the installation of the Imperial version, but we don't see the installation of all those fonts, but we are immediately at the setup. Just accept the defaults and gCADPlus is now being installed. Doesn't take terribly long, and we'll come to this screen. I'd suggest you take that tick box off and say finish. That gives CrossOver a chance to get it all done, and it's already done, so we click OK. So we've now, I'll close Finder and close the website. So we're back here. We have a bottle or container called gCADPlus metric, and here's the icon to run it and an icon to uninstall it. We double click on gCADPlus and the program will run. You're asked to enter a license key, just pick demo. So we're running a trial copy of CrossOver and effectively a trial copy of gCADPlus. So to get a feel for the program, just go File and New and choose one of the programs. Here's a formal rear garden, so you can say OK, and that'll give you an idea of what can be achieved with gCADPlus. Just practice rolling the wheel of the mouse away from you to magnify it and back towards you to shrink. Select one of the symbols and then right click and then pick copy, mark in the center. You can see you're stamping some new copies down, and we'll unselect all. So the white background you see at the moment is the gCADPlus drawing editor. That can be changed to a background color that's black if you are happier to work that way. The choice is yours. You've also got some workspaces. You can have a no toolbars workspace, so you can just see, although you can still get at drop-down menus, you've lost all the toolbars. We'll go back to View Workspace and just restore the default. So now I have a whole series of toolbars scattered around on the screen. So we hope that's enough for you to get a feel for gCADPlus and how it might work. But if you click on this landscape design on an A3 sheet, you can see there is the design laid out on a sheet with a sample title block, and we can print from there.